All right, from wherever part of the country or the world you're listening to us, this is One on One with me, Eugene Anangwe. It's a new month, plus, of course, new guests on the program. Right about now, I'm joined by none other than Sandra Idossou. She is the managing editor and of course, publisher at the Service magazine. We are here to talk about the impact of the media in terms of promoting service delivery in the country. Sandra, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Eugene.
I'll first of all start quickly with the current affairs that is going on, plus, of course, where you come from. You come from one of the West African countries, and we are now hearing a lot of stories concerning the Ebola outbreak.
Definitely.
How is that making you feel?
You know, again, we all afraid because we don't actually master what is happening. You know, we depend on what the media is telling us, and sometimes what they tell us makes us rather become very anxious. So at the moment, we are quite afraid, and we raised some questions yesterday and 2 days ago on most social media to find out what Rwanda is really doing in terms of protecting us, but making sure also that at the airport people know what to do in the flights and all that. So I guess we're all afraid.
And what you found out, did it convince you?
You know, this is something you really don't master. So you just trust and you hope that whatever people have told you is correct. So, well, this is something that we are all very much afraid of. And from West Africa, you might not notice it from here, but what I'm told is that most businesses have stopped because no one actually wants to travel to West Africa anymore. So even if people are saying that it is just in these three countries of Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Guinea, but for now it's the whole West Africa. And even beyond West Africa is now the whole Africa. Yes. So the impact of what we are hearing is just something do
you think it's unfairly, putting other West African countries which have not yet reported any cases of Ebola, do you think they're being treated unfairly when we all put this blanket report that it's in West Africa?
No, but again, I think it's because we don't know exactly what is happening. We don't know how huge this could affect us. So definitely everyone is trying to blame others or to think, but again, it's just because we don't know exactly, we don't have the right information, and because we don't have the right information, we have to speculate, we have to be afraid, we have to sometimes exaggerate. But again, those who have the information are those who are telling us now, is the information we're getting the correct information? That is something we can't be sure of. But for now, because we don't have our own source of information, we'll have to depend on what we're hearing.
Have you been personally treated differently so far since this outbreak?
No, because I've been here for some time. So, well...
Nobody's saying, Sandra, I don't want to get close to you.
No. For now, no. I think the fact that I've been here for some time, people probably assimilate me to the local people here. But again, if I was to travel, I mean, in the next coming days, I would be afraid. Probably I would... I will think twice if I have to go to West Africa now.
Let's talk about service delivery now, an area which touches deeply in your heart. You even came up with an idea of coming up with a publication that focuses majorly on service delivery, highlight some of those who are doing good, and also sometimes people comment and contribute on some of the areas that they are not happy with. In terms of your own assessment of how things have been from the time you initiated the Service magazine, what is the general impact?
Of course, we are still not very, very good, but we have to start. I mean, we have to admit the fact that there has been a lot of efforts made in improving service delivery. When I started talking about service delivery, that's 6 years ago, I came in Rwanda and I started a training company, and I was training on service delivery. So actually, when I saw the level of service from here, I'm like, goodness. I mean, but again, when I compare today from where we were, I must say that we've done something, but again, we are still very far from what we are supposed to be, and I think that's why it's important that everyone gets involved, because when we talk of service delivery, we all involved, whether we are consumers, we are customers, or we are service providers. So we all need to get involved. And again, this is a matter of culture. You just can't change a culture or habits in an instant. So it has to be something that continuously goes on, and we all need to get involved, no matter the level at which we are, whether at the grassroots level or wherever. We need to get involved, because otherwise nothing would change. And again, I think some institutions are doing well. Some people are actually trying to improve on their services. Some people are still lacking. Some people are still probably not doing as much as they could or they should. But again, the good thing is that there is a general effort that is being done, and that is what needs to be recognized.
Still remaining with this initiative of the Service Magazine, initially when you started, a couple of people who have been talking to have been saying, when they started, they were so harsh and they would put everything bare. If your company was a public company and was providing shoddy customer care to customers, or even a public institution, you would go out and just say it as it is. But then it comes to the issue of also commercialization of your initiative. You need sponsors. You need people to give you money. There are those who argue and say, now you are caught in between. Do you name and shame and still go back for some sponsorship? How are you dealing with that?
This has been a very interesting aspect of our magazine, because my background is actually educating and sensitizing. The main reason why I do this is because I want people to understand why they need to improve on their services. It's true that we need these sponsors, but we've actually never stopped from blaming, from shaming them, or from naming those who do well. But the good thing is that right from the beginning, we made it clear. We are here, and we are also the voices of consumers. If consumers tell us that they have issues with one service providers, we will do what we have to do. But again, we also have to be very careful on how we say it. It's not necessary on whether we say it. The question is not on whether. We would say it, but probably find a better way of getting people involved. One of the things we've been doing that probably people do not know is that we have good contact with most of these service providers. So when some of these issues are raised, we know who to call. We know we can call them directly, and we can and we know. Okay, we do a lot of things that people do not see. Probably we do not
Maybe
publish
you could tell
everything.
us one or two.
We would have some clients complain to us on several issues, So sometimes we would call them. We would call the MDs. We would call the CEOs. I don't want to give you even this morning.
Yes.
I called an MD and I said, this is what happened. I really felt it's important you get to know about it, So we have this relationship with our service providers that probably clients do not see,
And would they, when you call them, would they ask you, how is it your business?
No, like this one. Okay, I don't want to give names again, but this one, for instance, it's a poor service, and it was just, you just couldn't think that in this day, I mean, especially at this company, because we know that they try to improve their services. But when I called the MD and I told him, he said, thank you for telling us, because it will be put on social media.
Yes.
But I'm not sure they really read.
Yes.
The impact is there. Probably the junior staff might read, but I'm not sure the CEOs themselves read. So there are some issues. I would definitely call the CEOs myself and tell them this is something that is happening. Lately, there were issues again on one of the banks and all that. We'll call the CEO himself and say,
and would be shocked.
And tell him.
So are you trying to say that some of the companies that we see people complaining about, it's because probably their top management doesn't really know and probably blame the company as a whole?
Well, I mean, my work is to make sure that service gets better. So when we hear such stories of poor services, we would try and let them know. Now, do they know? Were they aware of these poor services? I don't know. But I think for me, as I don't even know how to describe myself as a publisher.
An advocate
for good service delivery.
Yes.
I think it's my responsibility and my team to contact these people and let them know. And the good thing is that we really have very, very good relationship with our clients, because they know, when we come and, for instance, we publish stories on some of these service providers and they are negative, they understand. I've met some CEOs and they were like, how can you publish such a story on us? It's not me. This is what customers are saying. So we need to understand that our main objective is to improve service delivery. So I think we are getting there. Now we need to make sure that all these CEOs are on social media. I think that's one way.
That's very important point that you make, indeed, in terms of the impact of social media and why they need to be there. But let's talk about how far you can go beyond just writing, beyond just making that phone call, and the fact that we don't see a consumer protection unit out there where you can go and actually openly report and complain and say, we saw this, a client came to us, we called the person, he did not act about it. How far can you go? And looking at these constraints, what should be done?
Again, we have to be careful. We, as the service mag, we have to be careful. We are not, even if we advocate for good service delivery in Rwanda, we are not the association of
consumer.
I know in Kenya
yes.
you have such an association.
Yes.
In here, I don't know. There isn't any association that I know of.
I'm always told that it is there,
but I've never met them. I don't know what they do. So people would actually come back and tell us, they will complain. But again, we are not an association of, our role is to educate. Our role is to sensitize. So when we hear such reports, all we have to do is to make sure that the concerned people or authorities have the information. But again, I think it's important that there is an association, because otherwise we complain, but then nothing happens.
Yes.
Yes.
We become more barking than biting.
Yeah, that is it. And we publishing it in the magazine. Of course, someone will tell me, that story, it was read by 100,000 people. You've actually destroyed my business, because these are some of the complaints. Yeah.
Have you ever been in such a situation where they've told you, we're going to sue you for character assassination?
No, not so far, because the way we function is that we're open to the general public. Everyone writes us stories of the experiences. We also check ourselves. So if you really realize that this is something that is a general habit with this service provider, then we will take it up and then we would publish the story. But so far, I've actually met a chairman. There was a story, and a very negative one, and the chairman was, why didn't you tell me before publishing? Yes, but I had told your managers, I had told the people I thought were in charge of services. So if you published it now, it's because it was really and somehow it's the good thing about shaming is that it makes everyone pay attention.
Yes.
It makes everyone say, oh, who is this person? Maybe if I don't... Okay, this afternoon we had a very poor service again in one of the places we went to. We complained, we called the manager, and we told the manager. And the manager said, oh, I'm sorry, we will find solutions and all that. They know that if they don't find solutions, probably there would be, so somehow it makes everyone be on his toe, and probably that's all that we can do. We can do. The issue is to understand that there is so much to be done. Unfortunately, we as the service mag, we cannot do everything. What we can do is to sensitize, is to educate, and to help these service providers know what they can do to improve their service delivery.
Yes, we might all want to provide a solution to this problem, but then without understanding the root cause of why we see these problems in terms of poor service delivery, then not much will come out of the initiatives that we do. What do you think could be the issue? Is it the moral fabric? Is it a cultural issue? Or is it just ignorance? I
think it's a combination of all that. But again, I will start with the fact that it's very cultural. And when we talk of culture, it means it started. It doesn't mean that we were born like that. When you talk of culture, it's a matter of habits, that you keep on, and after some years, it becomes part of you. So it's just a matter of for several years, no one was complaining here. I still remember the first time I complained publicly. Someone told me, how can you call the name of this company? And I'm like, yeah, but the service was poor. So it's a matter of culture. People were not used to complaining. Yeah, that is true. There is a lot of, the causes is also a lot in terms of ignorance.
Yes.
There are many customers themselves who don't know what is good service.
Yes.
You know, people would go to banks, they will stay 2 hours and they will think that is how it's supposed to be. I was just talking with a friend. Now we're talking about hair salons, you know. And you stayed in a hair salon for 3 hours, you know, and they think that is how it's supposed to be. They don't know that probably they could actually book an appointment. They could just go for the time that they had wanted to be there. So it's also a lot of education, and because people are very ignorant. And the thing is that if you yourself as a consumer, you don't know what you deserve. Of course, you accept whatever is given to you. Some of the people who complain is because they know, or they've seen, or they know that they're supposed to get better services.
Yes.
So yes, there is a problem of culture, there's a problem of ignorance, but also there's a problem of the fact that people most of the times think that because they have the monopoly, they can do whatever they want. Whatever they want.
Let's talk about the consumers and their role in also improving the service delivery. How do you not look like you're being arrogant when you are demanding for what you believe is your right?
I think definitely you have to understand, you have to accept that probably you would be considered as someone who is arrogant, as someone who is too demanding, as someone who is never satisfied, just like I am. I'm described as someone who is. I have some friends who say, we don't want to go out with you because you would always complain. Of course, you have to understand, if you want. And again, what I always say is that as a consumer, you pay for a service.
Yes.
So you need to get a service
Value
that
for
goes,
money.
That is it. If I go to a place and get a poor service and people tell me, and excuse again, you know what, you have to excuse us, our staff, or we are new. I said, no, because the prices that I'm paying is not a price for a new, I'm paying the right price. So I should get a service that has the value of whatever I'm paying for. So I think it's important that the consumer himself understands that he deserves quality. He pays for a service, and he should be given the service that goes with that, with whatever the person pays. And I think that is why, in terms of sensitizing, it's important the media and we all sensitize not only the service providers, but the consumer. Because the consumer is actually the one who would bring the service provider to offer him a good service. But when the consumer himself doesn't complain, because of course we have to admit that here for several years people were not complaining, but it's important that we educate and let people understand that it is right to complain. Of course, complaining doesn't mean screaming or
asking
shouting,
where's the manager
or whatever. You can complain, but in a proper manner. You don't have to
raise attention.
We can do it in a better way. Okay. So that is also something that we also need to make sure that the consumer understands.
There are those who feel that the lack of enough hospitality training institutions may be a reason as to why we're seeing these kind of problems. We in other countries we see a lot of hospitality schools and colleges and universities that offer that. Would you agree that is a reason?
Definitely, because I always start by giving my example and telling people that I went to school, I learned hospitality because it is what I had wanted to do. I always loved it and I went to school for it. We are in an environment where people think that those who are in hospitality is because they are dropouts, is because that's the only job they find. And because of that, people lack professionalism because they don't know. They just learn on the job, but they don't consider it as a profession that people learn. And I think the fact that we don't have many schools here, many schools that teach people what service is, of course, it also causes what we have here. There's the few schools that I've seen here that I've visited. Well,
not impressed at all.
I mean, if you're teaching someone to be a waiter, the minimum is to have an environment where the guy would really serve, and do like he's supposed to be. But when you go to schools where people are just, whatever they give is just theory, or you've been to schools where
So what you're saying is the system is wrong, even for those that are available.
Definitely. It's not up to standard. And again, that is one area that as Africans we also need to pay attention to. We need to have good, if you're doing things, it's important that we do them right. It's not because we are here, we're in Rwanda, we're in Africa, so anything can be called a school or anything can be called a training. If you're doing things, it's important that we do the right things. You know, if you're training people to be waiters or you're training people to be chefs and all that, they should be in an environment where they have the right,
to be able to execute what you teach them. Now, Sandra, let's talk about the growth of your initiative. Today, we understand that you have also launched in Burundi.
Yes.
Now you are in Rwanda. Which other country?
For now, here we are working on another area. We would start probably. We're still working on it. So let me
so it is Rwanda. You're keeping it as a secret.
Yeah.
So what is official is that it's Rwanda and Burundi.
Yes.
Okay. So have you ever been in a situation where someone just said, if it is Sandra, she's just making money. You know, whatever she's saying and whatever she's doing. Do you feel that your magazine has lost relevance with time?
I wouldn't say so. Probably, I would say that the magazine has grown. Of course, we are 4.5 years now. It's probably time, and again, as time grew, we do much more than the magazine.
Yes.
We're using a lot social media to have more impact because the magazine comes out only once every quarter. So we're actually trying to use more social media. Now we do the customer service vote, where at the end of the year we would want people to vote for their best service providers. As time grows, we are also growing with the business, and we are trying to make sure that our readers still enjoy reading us. But one thing that probably I always pay attention to is the fact that my main objective is to sensitize for good service delivery.
Okay.
So I will do what I can do, and then with my team, we are trying to maintain and continue to believe that together, if we continue to sensitize, we can improve service. Now, whatever people think.
So what you're telling me is the project or the initiative is, first of all, people-centered and not business.
No. And that is exactly why the magazine we are not selling the magazine. Because we are in an environment where people don't understand, they don't even see the value in buying magazines. So if you want people, you might put very interesting articles that would educate people, but if people don't see why they have to buy it, they will not get it. So that is why we rather look for sponsors or advertisers, which is it is still hard, even for us after 4.5 years. It's still hard to come up every issue with 5,000 copies and all that. So it is still tough for us. But again, whatever people think, seriously, it doesn't make us.
You don't care.
No, seriously.
Now, Sandra, let's in closing, let's look at the role of the media, just briefly in a nutshell, without looking like people who are just thought that is your role to do it. Because even media is in business. For us to have these lights here, for us to have these microphones, we need money. But we have institutions that have budgets to create awareness on some of the things that they do. Do you feel that they're doing it right? And what would you tell them?
Well, I think it's important people understand the role of media. Media is here to educate, to sensitize, to inform people, and to entertain. Okay. And I think it's important that institutions understand that we cannot grow our countries without the media.
Yes.
If they don't understand that educating people would help our economy to grow, that educating people would help our people to be better, better citizens of tomorrow, then it means that we are still not on the right path. And what I have to tell them is that they should just consider us, And again, coming back to your question, even for us, after 4.5 years, every issue, we're never sure whether we would come up. I've been here running around for a week, getting people, getting sponsors. But as at the time I'm speaking to you, I probably have five clients. And with 5 clients, we're not able to print. So it's important for people to understand that we need media. Of course, you need media because you advertise your product. Yes. But beyond that, you educate people, you sensitize people. And I really, seriously, I think there are some institutions that do not understand. Okay. In terms of using the media properly, there are so many things that we can do with the media, but unfortunately, again, it's all a matter of knowledge. People don't know.
Don't understand.
Yeah.
So, lastly, you have mentioned that you usually have a award ceremony for rewarding companies that have offered good service delivery and people vote. So are we going to expect, because you also mentioned the importance of shaming, are we going to expect to see the shaming bit also coming in your next award?
The way we've labeled it, we call it the best service providers.
Yes.
We think it's more important to recognize the best ones. Of course, when we tell people vote for your best service providers, for instance, in hospitality or in the telecom or in the banks, we would only talk about those who are good. We haven't actually decided to call the
worst providers. Why don't you try and see how it goes?
I don't know. For now, we are happy calling the good, because again, coming back to the fact that we need to recognize those who are doing well. I think for us, if you start calling the names of the worst ones, we're giving them no.
So it's a no.
No. For now, we are very good with the
ones who are providing good service.
Yes.
Sandra Idossou, thank you so much for being on One on One.
Thank you, Eugene, and thank you for continuing to talk about service delivery.
Asante. Thank you. That was Sandra Idossou, our guest on One on One today. Thank you very much for all those who've been tuning in right here on 89.7 Contact FM. We see you again next week on Tuesday from 7:30 in the morning, and then 6:30 p.m. until on Thursday. And of course, my name is Eugene Anangwe. Goodbye for now.